How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Scoring from the 50 podcast. We got a huge, jam-packed episode, okay? Last weekend, we had the college football playoff, the first round. We had Oklahoma, Alabama. We had Texas A&M and Miami. We'll talk about those games just a little bit. We'll look ahead to their upcoming games in the future. We also had Oregon and James Madison played. We had Ole Miss killing Tulane. It was a huge, huge weekend. We'll also talk about the transfer portal right in between those two. Michigan is still coachless. And at the very, very end, we will talk about if the group of five should still be in the playoff, because that's a very hot topic of debate on social media right now. And I feel like I should give my opinion on that. I feel like I'll have a reasonable take. I think a lot of people will like it, but I cannot wait to get right into it. But before I do, I want to make sure that you guys go down, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I put up some shorts last weekend and they got a ton of views. Everything's going great with that. I just want to say thank you. Everything went really well with that. I got a ton of views. I really, really appreciate everyone's support, everyone watching that. I love the comments I get on those. I love seeing people hit the like button and everything. It means a ton to me. I love seeing that support. So make sure you go down, hit subscribe, hit the like button. It means a ton to me. So just do it. It takes like 2 seconds to go do it, and then I get a ton of support, so I know that I'm doing a good job. If you don't think I'm doing a good job, then tell me what I can do better. There's a comment section for a reason. Go tell me what I can do better. But let's get right into this episode, okay? It is going to be a huge New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day whenever the college football playoff gets there. But just for today, we are going to talk about just this last weekend, and then I'll have another podcast up later in the week talking about the upcoming second round games. All right, let's go right into it. Oregon crushed James Madison. I mean, this is what we expected, right? No one didn't see that coming. All right. James Madison just didn't have the players. They don't have the players to compete with someone like that. They don't have the speed. They don't have the size. They don't have the physicality. They don't have the toughness. They just don't. All right. And that is nothing to take away from James Madison. And you can say all these same things about Tulane and Ole Miss. So we're going to put these two together. Tulane and James Madison just didn't have the players to compete with Ole Miss and Oregon. That's just not how this sport is working. It's just not how it works. All right. If Tulane and James Madison had players that were good enough to beat those two teams, they've already been taken by the transfer portal, right? And again, we will get into this later in the show. It's the very last thing that we'll talk about before I get out of here, but they just didn't have the players to compete. They didn't have the coaches. They didn't have the focus. They didn't have what they had no chance to win this game. They just didn't, all right? We will get into that more later in the show, but I do want to move on to Michigan is still without a coach. Kenny Dillingham seems to have told them no, or didn't tell them no because he never got offered the job. If he never got offered the job, then Ward Manuel, Michigan's athletic director, should be fired right now. He should have been fired a few days ago if that's the case, but sounds like it is, and I don't know why Ward Manuel still has his job, but that's just my opinion. Michigan, where do they go from here? Last week we talked a lot about if they didn't get Kenny Dillingham or Kalen DeBoer, and I don't think Kalen DeBoer is completely off the table because I don't know what else we would be waiting on. I thought we'd have a coach by now. So I don't think Kalen DeBoer is completely off the table. I think Jesse Minter is out there. I think Eli Drinkwitz is out there. Jed Fish seems to have come back into the fold a little bit. Kyle Whittingham is also a big option from Utah. He just recently stepped down as their head coach. I think he'd be a decent option. I think Biff Poggi is an option, the interim head coach at Michigan right now. Honestly, and I know a lot of Michigan fans aren't going to agree with me on this, but I think out of all those coaches, Eli Drinkwitz is probably your best option. I don't think very many people are going to agree with me on that, but I think Kyle Whittingham's a really good coach. I just don't think that's what Michigan needs right now. I think they need a younger guy to go in there and be their head coach for a pretty long time instead of just the 2 years that Sharon Moore was, and like before Jim Harbaugh, it was Brady Hoke, and just not lasting very long. And we need a guy that's going to be there for the long term. I think Eli Drinkwitz is that guy. I think he would love to have that Michigan job. Like I talked about last week, I think that he would get in Ryan Day's head very easily. I think that Eli Drinkwitz is a great coach. He's a great recruiter. He'd do a great job in the recruiting trail. He knows the Midwest. Michigan always does a really good job of recruiting Missouri. I think that they would continue that, obviously, with the connections that he has to Missouri. So I think Eli Drinkwitz would be a great hire. I think he's the best option out of all of them that are left. I think Jesse Minter would be a close second, but I don't see it. Most of the reason why he's second is because I don't see a way that you get him from the NFL. I think that he's going to get a good head coaching job in the NFL instead of college, and I don't know why he would want to come back to college. All these stupid rules, all the crap going on at Michigan. I don't know why he would want to come back to that. But I could see it. I think that he would be a great hire. I just don't see him coming to Michigan. But after that, then you have the Jeff Brom. I think Jeff Brom would be a really good hire as well. Wouldn't get me like super excited, but I think he'd be a good hire. You have Clark Lee. I haven't heard his name mentioned a lot. I don't think he's really an option here, but I think he's a good coach. I'd like to have him. Again, Jed Fish seems to have been back in the fold for whatever reason. I'm not sure what happened there, but he seems to be being reconsidered, so I don't know if he's back in the running or not. I'm not sure where he stands exactly, but it sucks. Michigan seems like they don't know what they're doing. They either know exactly what they're doing or they have no clue what's going on. And that is terrifying for me as a Michigan fan. I don't like that whatsoever because I don't trust this athletic department to get the job done. But they need to find a coach. Like my friend, he put it as like Michigan seems to be waiting for a guy to come to them, not going out and getting a guy. They're not going out and getting their guy. They're waiting for someone to just fall in their lap and hope that they can just take whoever comes to their doorstep, being like, hey, I want your job. Okay, let's hire you. That's not the route that you need to take as Michigan. Michigan can go and get most guys out there. That's that kind of job where they can take pretty much any coach that they want, except for apparently Kenny Dillingham. But Michigan needs to go and get a guy. And I think Eli Drinkwitz should be your guy. I think Jeff Brom should be your guy. Or I think you got to find a way to land Kalen DeBoer. I don't know if the door's closed on that after he beat Oklahoma or not, but I just don't know. And I think Kalen DeBoer is your best option, obviously, out of those guys. He's obviously head and shoulders above everyone else, I think, in my opinion, that's left, because I think Kenny Dillingham was a close second to him. Obviously, he's not on the table anymore. I think Kalen DeBoer, you have to make him say no, and I don't think he said no yet. He hasn't publicly stated that he said no. He hasn't signed an extension or anything, so go make Kalen DeBoer say no. I think that's the guy you have to go after. If it's not him, which it most likely isn't, then it's got to be Jesse Minter, Eli Drinkwitz, or Jeff Brom. I think those are my three that I would be happy with now that since Kenny Dillingham said no. But again, I just don't know where they go from here. Lots of options. Not sure where Michigan goes. Now let's get to the transfer portal, all right? Big news in the transfer portal, all right? We knew Sam Leavitt from Arizona State was going to be in the portal, all right? He's the number one portal from On3. Then you have Chaz Coleman, the edge rusher from Penn State. I think he's a great player. He showed a few flashes this year at Penn State. I think he could be one of the best edge rushers in the country, either next year or the year after. I think he has a ton of upside. It sounds like Ohio State is probably the favorite to land him, which would be a great fit for him. I think he'd get developed perfectly there. I think that Penn State also wants to get him back. Matt Campbell there at Penn State, his Nittany Lions are trying to get him back in the fold. I think Chaz Coleman's going to be an absolute superstar. Drew Messamaker from North Texas. We will talk about the quarterbacks in a second because there are a lot of quarterbacks in the portal. After Drew Messamaker from North Texas, you go to Jontez Williams from Iowa State, the cornerback. He's really good. He has a lot of upside. Jeremiah Cooper, he's another cornerback from Iowa State. So you got two cornerbacks from Iowa State right there in Jontez Williams and Jeremiah Cooper. Two really good players. I'd love to see where they go. They're going to be huge instant impact players. After that, then you find Josh Hoover, and we'll talk a lot about the quarterbacks in just a second because there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the transfer portal already. Speaking of quarterbacks, right after that, you have Dylan Raiola at number 7. That is huge news. That's a 5-star talent right there. That is huge news. After Dylan Raiola, Wendell Gregory, the edge rusher from Oklahoma. He's been really good all season. One of the few bright spots on Oklahoma State. Then another quarterback, Brennan Sorsby from Cincinnati, is going to be at number 9. Mateen Igbaraga at number 10, the Wake Forest D lineman. He's been really good all season. And then a few others that I just want to make sure that I hit on. Nick Marsh, the receiver from Michigan State. He is going to be a huge player for whoever lands him. He was, again, just like Wendell Gregory from Oklahoma State, he was one of the only good players on that Michigan State Spartans team. I think he can be a huge player for whoever lands him. I think Michigan's in the mix there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's going to be a huge player for whoever lands him. Then I want to make sure I hit on Hollywood Smothers, the running back from NC State. He had a really good season. I think that anyone who really needs a running back, just maybe have a good O-line but don't have the running backs to go get a really good run game, I think he'd be perfect for them because I think Hollywood Smothers is a really good running back from NC State. Again, just like Nick Marsh, just like Wendell Gregory, one of the very few bright spots on that NC State team. I think he'd be a great get for anybody. Then Boo Carter from Tennessee, the safety. I really liked him as a recruit. He was one of those do-it-all guys. He's going to be a returner. He's going to be really decent safeties. I think he could have played wide receiver. He was just a do-it-all, do whatever you need to do guy. He's kind of struggled at Tennessee. He's not been as good as I thought he was going to be. But I think that he still has that in him. And I think that if you go to the right spot, go to the right program, I think they can get that out of him. So Boo Carter, I think, is going to be really good. I think that's potentially a really good get for whoever lands him. But he just needs to focus on the potential that he had coming out of high school. Now let's talk about some quarterbacks. All right, so the number one quarterback in the portal is going to be Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. All right, we talked about Kenny Dillingham in the Michigan coaching search, and in the interview where he talked about the extension he just got, he was out there, I don't want to call it begging, but begging for a $20 million check written from some booster in Phoenix. If you had that, you wouldn't have Sam Leavitt in the portal right now. I'll tell you now, at Michigan, that's not happening. You're not getting people in the portal. You're not getting your starting quarterback in the portal at Michigan just because they have the NIL, unless Bryce Underwood might because, different circumstances, lost your head coach or whatever. But whenever you have that kind of continuation from year to year, you don't lose your quarterback if you have that kind of money. So Sam Leavitt, he's doing what he needs to do to go get paid, but kind of sucks he's leaving Arizona State because that's where he was supposed to be. Now, the second highest quarterback is from North Texas. Drew Mestemaker has been really, really solid all year. I think, if anything, I could see him following his head coach to Oklahoma State next year. I think that's probably where he lands. Not 100% sure on that just because he's going to have a lot of options. He's a really good quarterback. So I think Drew Mestemaker is going to be a huge get for whoever gets him, but I think he's going to go to Oklahoma State. Not 100% sure on that, but I think he's going to be a huge get for whoever gets him. Now, the next quarterback after that is going to be Josh Hoover from TCU. Again, another, just like Drew Mestemaker, wasn't like a big flashy guy, not going to make a huge play or anything, but a really solid quarterback. He makes the right reads. He does what he needs to do. He had a great season. Another guy just like that, and we're going to skip over Dylan Raiola because he is going to be the fourth best quarterback in the portal right now. But a guy just like Josh Hoover is going to be Brendan Sorsby, very, very kind of similar in the way that they play the game, right? Very, very solid, not a super high ceiling, but a super high floor. So Brendan Sorsby is going to, wherever he goes, there's not going to be a big, horrible season like there was at Penn State or LSU. Like, there's not going to be that with Josh Hoover, Brendan Sorsby, Drew Mestemaker. I don't think any of those guys are going to lead you to have a really, really catastrophic season. I think all three of them are great, similar talents that are really, really, really good. But they're not like that superstar that's going to make huge plays, like big plays with his legs, big plays with his arm, none of that really. But I think they're all going to be really good quarterbacks. So, again, those three guys are going to be huge gets for whoever gets them. Now, two other quarterbacks that I will group together are two former 5-stars. Dylan Raiola is currently the 7th best player in the portal from Nebraska. Not only is this going to be a huge get for whoever lands him, right? He's a 5-star guy. He seemed pretty solid this year. He took a big step this year. He's a huge loss for Nebraska, too. He was supposed to be the savior of Nebraska football. He was supposed to be this guy who got them back to national relevance. He's not going to do that. I think they went 8-4 this year, which is better. A lot better than what they've been. But where does Nebraska go from here? I think they could go out and get one of these high floor kind of guys, a Brendan Sorsby, a Josh Hoover, one of those guys. I think they could go out and get them one of them. I don't know if they have someone on roster already or not, but this has got to be disappointing if you're a Nebraska fan. This guy was a 5-star, number 1 recruit in the country. This was supposed to be the guy to come and save your program, and he didn't do that. Didn't deliver on that. I think you got to be pretty disappointed if you're a Nebraska fan. I'm disappointed, and I'm not a Nebraska fan. I'm disappointed for Nebraska. I want Nebraska to be good. I think college football is better if Nebraska's good. I think they're a big brand. They're well known. They were awesome in the 90s. One of the best programs ever in the 90s. I want them to be good again. I want good teams. I want good programs. I want good fan bases to be good in college football. Really, really, really unfortunate that Nebraska's just not. They're just not. And I hope that they get to that point at some point. It's just they need to recruit better. They're not recruiting very well. They need to do a better job in the transfer portal. Haven't been doing a good job in that. They have got to start improving the way that they get talent. That's what I got to do with Nebraska. But for Dylan Raiola, again, like I said, he's going to be a huge get. For whoever ends up getting him, he's a very solid guy. He's not going to really throw many interceptions. He's going to throw a few. He's going to throw a few. He's also hurt right now. Not sure how much that impacts who wants him and how much people want him, but Dylan Harrell is going to be a really good quarterback for whoever gets him. They just need to bring out that, big play side of him. They need to be able to get him to be this big difference maker, which he hasn't been in Nebraska. And I think that he has that in him. I just think they need to bring it out of him. Another guy that does have that big playability already that just throws way too many interceptions, DJ Lagway from Florida, is hit the transfer portal. I don't know what to think about this because I think that DJ Lagway is one of the most talented quarterbacks that we have in college football right now. But like I said, he throws so many interceptions, man. Did you watch that LSU game this year? Like 5 interceptions in that game? That's insane. That's crazy. You can't be doing that as Florida's quarterback. I mean, along with that he just throws too many interceptions. The reason why he's in the portal is because John Summerall and his staff came in there and they had a meeting with him. And instead of being like, hey man, you got the talent, we're going to get it out of you. You're a great quarterback. You're great mentally. You put the work in. You're going to do great. We're going to be the ones that get it out of you. That's not what they said. They went into that meeting and they asked him, hey, how's your work ethic? I don't think your work ethic's good enough. I think you need to work harder. I don't think mentally you're ready for this. I think that you can be better. And DJ Lagway took that personally and he hit the portal. So I think they had a good reason to question his mental toughness, as that's how he's going to be, all right? So that's just my opinion. I don't know where he ends up. I think LSU might be an option. I think that he has the talent to go pretty much anywhere he wants. He has the talent to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football next year. Does he have the mental ability to be the best quarterback in college football next year? He had the potential to be the best quarterback in college football this year, and he completely failed on that. Maybe it was a little bit because Billy Napier is still calling plays, and Billy Napier is not good enough to call plays for DJ Lagway. He obviously struggled. He got fired early in the season, so clearly that was part of the issue. Can he go somewhere else and fix that with a better coach, with better coaching, better play calling, better everything, better development? Everything that he needs, hopefully, is somewhere else, because I want him to be good. He's an insane talent. He has the potential to be the best quarterback in college football. Stop throwing the ball to the other team. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. But DJ Lagway's in the portal. Very, very, very curious to see where he ends up. Let's talk about on the field football, all right? Oklahoma loses to Alabama 34-24. John Mateer, he played all right. All right, again, I usually start with quarterbacks in these previews and the reactions. John Mateer, 26 for 41. 370 yards was decent, but 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. It's just not exactly what you want. Like, he had a few moments, especially in the first half. They looked great. Got up 17-0. He looked great. Ball was coming out of his hands like it was against Michigan. He was running the ball. He was doing everything he needed to do. I'm not sure what changed from the first quarter and a half to the last 2.5 quarters. He struggled. I don't know if it was because that one play where he takes off, escapes the blitz. He's about to run for it. He could run for the 4th down. He throws the ball, but then the receiver drops it. Does that affect his confidence in his receivers? That was very odd. That was very odd to me. He just randomly started struggling. All right. And then to pair with that, John Mateer not playing a great game, Oklahoma only ran for 55 rushing yards, 1.7 yards per carry. That's not going to get the job done against anybody, let alone against a team like Alabama. You can't run for 1.7 yards per carry. That's never going to be good enough. Of course, I say that whenever Alabama ran for 1.1 yards per carry, but we'll get to that in a second. You have to run the ball better. If John Mateer is going to struggle the way that he did, you have to be able to run the ball, and they didn't do that. Deion Burks, I do want to give some praise to him. 7 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Deion Burks played a great game. If he comes back, I'm not sure if he has any eligibility or not. If Deion Burks comes back next year, they could be a really good offense. They just need to figure out how to run the football. That's all that Oklahoma needs to be able to do. Same can be said for Alabama. Oklahoma, also a key to this game that I talked about last week was the turnovers. Oklahoma first forced timely turnovers against Tennessee and Alabama to survive those games, and they didn't turn over the ball a single time. That is a recipe for disaster for Oklahoma. Whenever you've built your team off turnovers and you don't force turnovers, you're probably going to lose a football game, and they did. John Mateer, is he coming back? He hasn't made his decision yet. He has 1 more year of eligibility left. Is he coming back for next year? If I were him, I would. I think you're going to make more money in college. I think that you can be a superstar. I think you can improve your draft stock a lot because he has the talent, man. Come back, not injured. He has the talent to be a really good quarterback next year. He just can't get hurt. I think that was a huge issue. I think that he really hurt his draft stock going into next year because I think his draft stock was going to be through the roof. Did you see him against Michigan? If he could have played like that all year, he would have been in the Heisman. He would have been in New York. He can come back for another year and vastly improve his draft stock. Vastly. I think that he's going to be a great player next year if he does decide to come back. I think that's the correct decision for him. But again, the NFL is the NFL. The NFL comes calling. Nothing's ever guaranteed whenever you come back for another year. He could get hurt again. He could blow out his knee, never play again. There's so many different scenarios in that. So it's just up to him. I think the correct decision would be to come back for college football. I would love it as a college football fan if he came back to college football. But you just never know. It's the NFL. It's the NFL. There's a lure there. If you like football, if you're a football guy, your goal is to get to the NFL, right? So I wouldn't blame him if he did, but I think he should come back for another year. Let's talk about Alabama. Alabama really, really, really played better against Oklahoma. They actually threw the ball, which is huge because they can't run the ball. Ty Simpson was 18 for 29 for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, he just did what he needed to do. Again, in the first quarter and a half, he kind of flipped with John Machado. The first quarter and a half, he did not play great. He looked just like he did against Georgia, just like he did the first game against Oklahoma. But that blocked punt, it wasn't really a blocked punt. The guy just dropped the ball on the ground. Just he had the ball in his hands and just dropped it. Didn't kick it. I kind of get what happened. I kind of understand. Whenever you're in a spot like that, sometimes your body just doesn't work. Right, you're in a college football playoff. You got 100,000 people around you cheering for you. You have to get this job done, and your body just doesn't answer to what your brain wants you to do. I can kind of get what that. I kind of get where that happens, but it shouldn't. That's not an excuse at all. Like you just kick the football. Just kick the football. It is not that hard. Just kick the football. Don't just drop the ball on the ground. Oklahoma struggled. Special teams and offensively. Killed them. Absolutely killed them. Ty Simpson, 18 for 29, 232 yards. I think I just said that. But they are a great spot against Indiana because Indiana can't really cover the pass very well. I think that's one of the mistakes that Ohio State made. They ran the ball to set up throwing the ball. They need to throw the ball to set up the run. That's just how Ohio State's built. That's how they're going to win football games. But I don't think that Indiana can cover the pass very well, and I think Alabama is going to be able to take advantage of that just a little bit. The caveat to this is that they cannot run the ball to save their lives. They had 28 rushing yards. 28 rushing yards. 1.1 yards per carry. 1.1. That is not acceptable from Alabama. That is horrible from Alabama. Alabama has been built on toughness, physicality, and running the football for the past 15 to 20 years. What are you doing? What are you doing? You have the running backs to do this. You have the O-line to do this. What is the problem? They haven't been able to run the ball all year. It's not going to come to fruition now. It's way too late in the season to be able to get better at this. It's way too late in the season to be able to take 1.1 yards per carry and make that into where it needs to be at 4 yards per carry, 3.7 yards per carry. That's a decent run game. That's good enough of a run game. 1.1 yards per carry is horrible, completely abysmal from Alabama. They have to get better at this, but they can't. We know that they're not going to. You just have to try and cover it up as much as possible. That's going to be their Achilles heel against Indiana. And if they somehow beat Indiana going forward in college football playoff, they have to be able to run the ball, and they can't. So I don't think they're going to be able to win a national championship. I think that they played great against Oklahoma. It's just Oklahoma also could not run the ball to save their lives either, so it didn't matter. So, again, if you can throw the ball the way that they did, I guess it can cover up the run game a little bit. But, man, you have Alabama next year. They're not going to be able to fix it this year. Next year, they have to be able to run the ball better, and they might compete for a national championship. I do want to talk about that Yermy Bernard catch. Over the top of the Oklahoma defender to get inside 1st and 5 from the goal line, I think, First and goal from the 5-yard line, I think. Insane catch. That rivals Omar Cooper's Indiana catch against Penn State. That was insane. Insane catch. Okay, Jeremy Bernard goes over the top. Mossed that dude. I think he dropped a pass earlier in the game. So, again, the mental toughness to come back from a drop like that is huge for Jeremy Bernard. Again, we've talked about it a little bit. Alabama has not gotten the production from Ryan Williams they expected this year. He's been nowhere close to as good as they thought he was going to be. Guys like Jeremy Bernard are what makes you still be able to win games, right? Jeremy Bernard, guys that step up in big moments. Alabama has had wide receivers step up in big moments. We've talked about this all year. It's just these random guys. They're not superstars. It's pretty much a different guy every single time that steps up in place of Ryan Williams and does what they need to do to win a football game. And I think they deserve a ton of props for that. That is difficult to do, to have a bunch of receivers that are good enough for that. So, I think that Jeremy Bernard did a good job. I can't wait to see what he does next week. I think he's going to have a huge game against Indiana. It's just if they can somewhat run the ball to keep their offense not one-dimensional, I think Indiana's going to be able to drop 8 guys, just rush 4, and get the job done. I think that that's what Indiana's going to do. I think Indiana's probably going to beat them without many issues, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about Texas A&M against Miami. Where were the offenses in this game? Where were they? They didn't show up. They didn't even... Miami's offense, their run game made the trip to College Station. Texas A&M's offense didn't leave the locker room. All right, again, like I said earlier in the Oklahoma-Alabama game, I usually start talking about the quarterbacks to start a reaction or a preview just because that's the most important position in quarterback. That's the most important position in sports, in my opinion. But my first bullet point here is just offense and then 3 question marks. Where was it? Marcel Reed, this stat line isn't that bad, all right? 25 for 39, 237 yards. That's not a bad stat line, except for you have 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. That's not good enough, right? Marcel Reed didn't play horrible. He had a few good runs. He had a few big plays with his arm. But he also had 2 or 3 turnovers in this game. And last week, whenever I was previewing this game, I told you that the most important stat is who turns over the ball the least amount of times. Miami had 0 turnovers. 0. Great game played by Carson Beck. Marcel Reed was not. He made 2 huge mistakes. And I think he even on that last drive, he was not fully there. He was... I don't know how to explain it exactly, but he was late on so many throws. So, again, ESPN does a really good job during the playoffs. They have the main broadcast, right, with Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler on the call. But then they also have the sky view, right? And what I like to do, it's right behind me over here. I have my TV with a surround sound on the main broadcast, right? But then above, I have a projector. And I like to watch the sky view of that. So I can see the play develop, and then I can kind of watch replays and hear analysis, whatever, from Kirk and Chris. So I think that ESPN does a great job, right? So I like to watch that sky view and see the play develop and see what's happening. And there was one play early in the drive. It was almost picked off because Marcel Reed hesitated and didn't throw it. But the guy ran a little, there's a tight end from the left side, ran a little curl over the middle. He had the guy open, he hitched, and then he threw it. And it was that close to getting picked off. It looked like that play in college football where the guy kind of dives after the ball and then it just goes right through him. That's kind of what it looked like. You can't do that if you're Marcel Reed. And then again, later in the draft, there was another play. It actually ended up not being that bad of a play, but it greatly hurt the ability to get yards after the catch. So there's an out route, and it's just late. He throws it to the very sideline. If he hits that right on the break from his route, he can catch that turn upfield and get a few more yards. He's just late. He hesitated a ton on this last drive, and it finally bit him on that last play of the game, right? He runs a little Texas route, the wide receiver, or maybe it was a tight end, I'm not 100% sure. But he runs a little Texas route, so it kind of goes like this, right? It goes like that. That's a Texas route. You make that double move, you fake outside, you cut inside, and the guy's wide open, right? But it's very, 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 very slim. He's open. You can make that throw, but you have to be on time. You have to be. Absolutely have to be on time. And he didn't do that. He was late. He hitched again. And then he throws it late, throws it behind the guy. He's trying to one-hand it behind his back, gets picked off. Huge win for Miami. Marcel Reed has to be able to have confidence in himself, confidence in his receivers, confidence in his play caller. He has to have more confidence on late drives next year whenever he comes back for Texas A&M. He has to figure that out. He can't be hesitated. He can't be nervous. He can't be hesitating to make the plays that he needs to make, right? Marcel Reed needs to be better in big spots. They need to establish the run more. I think that they could have ran the ball a lot better. They had 89 yards for 2.5 yards per carry, Texas A&M. I think they could have ran the ball a lot easier. Don't think they needed to lean on Marcel Reed as much as they did. You do need to when you're down 7 late in the game. Like, I understand leaning on him there, but earlier in the game, 89 yards, 2.5 yards per carry, I think you could run the ball with that. Maybe not great, but I think they could have ran the ball a lot better. And I think that would have opened up a lot more passing lanes for Texas A&M for Marcel Reed. So, again, Marcel Reed's hesitation, his turnovers were not great. He had 2 interceptions. Again, the key to this game, we talked about it before. 2 quarterbacks who were very prone to turning the ball over. One quarterback turned the ball over. One quarterback didn't. The one who didn't won the game. Marcel Reed needs to get that figured out next year. Again, Carson Beck, he made the throws he needed to. He didn't have a great game. 14 for 20 with only 103 yards and 1 touchdown. So the quarterback play wasn't great. But more importantly than anything else, he didn't give the ball to the other team. Now, the real difference maker on offense was Mark Fletcher, the running back for Miami. The offensive line, Mark Fletcher, 17 carries for 172 yards. 10 yards per carry. Anytime they gave him the football, he was getting the first down. That's how good Mark Fletcher was in this game. Huge difference maker. He did a great job. The defense dominated. Absolutely dominated. 7 sacks, 9 TFLs, and 2 interceptions. Bryce Fitzgerald, the quarterback for Miami, 2 interceptions in that game. Just him alone. What a great game for Miami's defense. They played out of their minds. And I do want to talk about my player of this game, Ruben Bain. 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, and a blocked field goal. We talked about it last week. I gave all these reasons why Texas A&M was going to win this game, right? They had a better run game. I think they had a better quarterback. I think they had better receivers. All these lists and lists of things that why Texas A&M was going to win this game. At the very end, I said, but Miami has Ruben Bain. We knew that Texas A&M wasn't going to be able to run the ball very well, and they didn't. He made the plays. He was able to pin his ears back and go take down Marcel Reed. Not just get to him, not just fluster him, but take him down. Okay? Again, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, probably one of the biggest plays of the game. He blocked a field goal. Ruben Bain completely took over this football game, just like I said he could have. Ruben Bain is one of the best players in college football. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I love watching Ruben Bain play. He's the best edge rusher in college football this year, in my opinion. I think he had a great season, and he had a great game. He completely took over the game. Complete X factor in this game. Props to him. Give all the credit to Ruben Bain. He's one of the best players that I've seen in college football this season. Cannot wait to see what he does against Ohio State. He's going to be a great player in that game as well. Malachi Toney, also on offense, was one of the probably second best player behind Mark Fletcher. He had a huge day on the special teams. He had some huge returns. They were amazing returns, right? He was great on special teams, and he also had that lone touchdown of the game on the end around. What a great game for Malachi Toney. He didn't catch the ball a lot. Again, there were only 103 yards for Miami's offense in the passing, but Malachi Toney came through when he needed to. He had a drop, he had a fumble, right? In the huge fumble that could have cost him the game. But instead he comes back and he scores a touchdown. That's some mental toughness from a true freshman right there. Malachi Toney is going to be a superstar. He already is a superstar. He's going to be even better next year. Can't wait to see what he does. Looking forward for Miami. They got a tough game against Ohio State, right? Oh, great. We won a game. Now we have to go play the team that was number 1 in the country pretty much all season. So, feel for them. But I think they have a decent shot. I think that they have the talent. I think they have the athletes to go and at least compete with them and make it a game. Maybe steal one at the end. I like what Miami's doing right now. I think if they could just throw the ball a little bit better, they might be one of the best teams in college football playoff this year. Can't wait to see what they do. Again, Miami's going to do great things. I can't wait to see where Miami goes from here. Now, The question that's been on the tip of the tongue of every single talking head, every single burner on Twitter, everyone has an opinion on this. And I think I'm going to find a good middle ground here, and I don't know why this isn't being talked about enough. Should the group of 5 be in the college football playoff? I think that they should be, with a caveat. Okay? Clearly, if you watch the games, right? James Madison and Tulane stood no chance in those games. There's never going to be a scenario where they won either of those games. There just wasn't. Everyone knew that. But everyone wants, well, they get included. It's nice to be there. We want to go prove ourselves. Well, no, you're not going to prove yourself. It's impossible. You don't have the talent. You don't have the coach. The coaches are about to take another job. You think they're focused on this game? No, the coaches aren't. I don't see why they should be automatically in. I do think that they should be in if they're good enough to be in. I just don't think that they should get in just for winning their conference. I know a lot of people are upset with Josh Pate right now, but I think he made a great point on his podcast. He said, well, it's not the fact that they don't have the players, which they don't. It's not the fact that their coaches are getting stolen by every other job, which they do. It's not the fact that literally the whole goal of being at a group of 5 team is to get to the Power 4. Look at UCF. Look at Cincinnati. Look at what USF's probably about to do. The goal is to get into the Power 4. There's a reason for that. The coaches are going to Power 4. John Summerall going to Florida. Bob Chesney going to UCLA. The goal is to get to the Power 4. The players, a lot of these guys are about to hit the portal, and they're about to go to Power 4 schools because a few of them, not very many, a few of them are good enough for that. But the goal for everyone on those fields is to get to the Power 4. If your goal is to leave this place and to go somewhere else, probably means you're not at the right place. Probably means that place doesn't ever be in the playoffs. But that is not even really the biggest reason why they shouldn't be in the playoff. The biggest issue is that, and Josh Pate said this, and I completely agree with him, they don't play the schedule that deserves to be in the playoffs. Florida, look at the schedule they played. Texas, look at who they played. Look at who Oklahoma played. That SEC schedule, even the Big Ten, even the ACC or the Big 12, that schedule is so different. The roster talents, the coaching, the level of coaching, the level of even just the fans, the environments, you just don't get those kinds of things to the level that they should be in the group of 5, right? You're not going to get that playing Memphis. You're not going to get that playing FAU. You're not going to get that playing FIU. You're not going to be getting that playing North Texas, UTSA, UTEP. I go on and on. Sam Houston, you can go on and on and on and on. That they don't play the level of competition that you should have to play to get into the playoff. And in my opinion, I think, why not give them their own playoff? Why not? Clearly they're not good enough to be in the college football playoff, right? They shouldn't be in the big dance. I think that you should give them their own playoff. Because why not? Why not? It's just more games for you to watch. It's just more opportunities to watch if you're a Group of 5 fan, you're a James Madison fan, you can go watch your team win a national championship. Win a Group of 5 national championship. That's still a national championship, man. You think that Illinois State right now isn't thrilled to be where they're at? Illinois State, if you don't know, FCS team, not the highest ranked team. They haven't had a great season, but they made their way into the FCS playoffs, and they upset North Dakota State. They upset someone else. I'm not even sure. I think it was like Cal Poly or something like that. They upset their way into the national championship game for FCS. You think that they're not happy to be there just because they're not in the national college football national championship? No, they're perfectly happy with where they're at. Montana State, you think that they're not happy to be where they're at? They're thrilled. They're getting to watch their teams play national championships. Why wouldn't you be happy with that? Why are you so greedy that you have to be in the college football national big FBS playoff? Why? I don't understand what is so bad about getting to watch your team win a championship. I think that would be amazing for Group of 5 fans. I think they would end up loving that. I think that, they're just going to create more opportunities for players to get seen. I think a Group of 5 playoff would be great. I don't see why the issue. I would love to watch that. If there's only one college football playoff There's only one college football playoff game going on at one time. So I could very easily just have one screen with the college football playoff, the big, national college football playoff, and then what, like my projector that I was talking about, I could have that on the group of 5 playoffs. Why would I not watch that? If you want to watch that, you can watch that. There's no reason to not have that. It's just more football. And it doesn't take away the regular season. If anything, it adds importance to the regular season for more teams. So why would you not want that? In my opinion, why would you not want that? That is going to be a great thing. And you know what? I think that you can still put the group of 5 in the National College Football Playoff if they're good enough for that. If they're ranked inside the top 15, if they're ranked in the top 12, just put them in the playoff, and then we can substitute someone else into the group of 5 playoffs. So then that's more opportunities for group of 5 teams. Why would you not want that? Why would you not want that? I think there's a lot of Navy fans out there. I think there's a lot of North Texas fans out there. There's a lot of fans out there who had really good seasons in the group of 5 that aren't in the championship, that aren't done playing football right now. I think that they would love to have a group of 5 I think they would love to have a group of 5 playoff. Go look at Western Michigan. Go look at what they're doing. They've had a great season. I bet they'd love to be playing football right now. I think that would be great for them. I don't see the downside to a group of 5 playoff. I don't understand why that's such an issue, especially if you leave the door open. Like if a group of 5 team is in the top 12, yeah, throw them into the big playoff. Why not? They're good enough. Go put them into the playoff. There's no issue with that. You can have both. You can have both. So again, just what they need to do, make a group of 5 playoff, but still allow, if a group of 5 team is in the top 12, ranked in the top 12, then yeah, put them in the big playoff. I don't know what the problem is there. I think maybe the playoff could then, maybe screw out a group of 5 team for a really good Power 4 team. I think that I could see them doing that. I think that would be maybe a downside. But really, I don't see many other issues with that plan. I don't know why group of 5 fans are so down on that. I don't know why a lot of Power 4 fans are really down on that. Most of them are ACC or Big 12 fans. But, I don't really see an issue with giving the group of 5 more games. I don't understand an issue with having more football games, but that's just my opinion. Again, I think that's a great idea. I don't know what the issue was. Feel free, if you have an issue with that, leave that in the comment section. I'm really curious to see people's thoughts on that. I don't know why people have an issue with that. Group of 5 can still get in if they're good enough, but we also get better games in the college football playoff. I would have so much rather watched Notre Dame play Ole Miss today. I would have so much rather watched BYU play Texas A&M today. Or Texas A&M, I don't know how it would have worked. I don't think they would have played Texas A&M. I think they would have played Oregon. Yeah, I would have much rather watched BYU play Oregon. I don't think that would have been that close of a game either, but it would have been a lot more interesting than the game that we got. That's for sure. So, again, just make it so that it's the top 12 teams with maybe 4 college football or 4 champions or 3. I don't think you really even need champions to have an auto bid, but if you do, I think you still need to give the group of 5 that opportunity to get into the playoff, right? So I think that the group of 5 is great for college football. I think it'd be great for college football if they have their own playoff. So just more football, more stuff for you to watch. But that is going to do it for this episode of Scoring from the 50. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at my analytics, and I got 1.8 thousand views in the past 24 hours, I think it was what it is. That means so much to me, man. I saw that and I just got so happy. I love seeing that. That makes me so happy. It's so much more views than I thought I would ever really get. And it just means a ton to me, especially I put in a lot of work. Again, I gave last episode at the end, I gave myself a lot of credit for, I praised myself a lot for continuing this and making sure that I got this stuff done and getting episodes uploaded almost every week. There were a few weeks that I missed here and there, but I always got up at least a video or two talking about the upcoming games that weekend. So I put in a lot of work with school and work and everything, and being able to do this as well on top of that. And man, it has paid off greatly. I'm having a ton of fun doing this, and I love seeing my work pay off, and I love seeing this. Again, it just means a ton to me. Again, so go down, leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on anything I talked about. Transfer portal, Michigan, group of 5. Do you think Oklahoma can beat, or do you think Alabama can beat Indiana? Do you think that Miami can beat Ohio State? Go tell me your thoughts. Just give me a comment I want to know what you guys think. I want to know your guys' opinion. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, go down and do it. You're like, 40 to 45 minutes into this. Just go down there, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It means a ton to me. It'll help me a lot knowing what I'm doing good. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys again later this week to preview some huge second round games, man. We got the New Year's 6 bowls going. All right, we got Miami and Ohio State. We got Texas Tech and Oregon, Ole Miss and Georgia, and finally, we have Alabama and Indiana. It's going to be a great New Year's. I can't wait for it. It's going to be amazing. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys later. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys later this week.